Good morning, LinkedIn family. Time for a Welcome Wednesday today, which is really cool. I get to introduce you all to Whitney Skeans, a connection of mine who is just simply amazing. If you're not connected to her, if you're not following her, you need to, and you need to engage with her as well. She's doing some fantastic things and has got a wonderful background that we'll talk about very shortly. But I really do believe one connection can change a life. And I think Whitney could be one of those connections for you today. Whitney, thank you for joining me on Coffee with Bob. I really appreciate it. I'm very pleased to have you here. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking to work on now.
Thanks, Bob. So I am joining you from a city just north of Niagara Falls called Lewiston, New York. I've been in the Western New York region for the last 3 years, but spent a lot of time, and sort of the pinnacle of my career thus far has been in the energy industry with low-income customer program direction and grant writing and implementation. First on the nonprofit side, I had the great honor of working for the Salvation Army in Michigan, servicing over 30,000 customers a year with low-income bill payment assistance and energy efficiency programming, working in partnership with the state of Michigan and also the utility industry. Over the course of years, I built relationships with that industry and was able to join Consumers Energy, the largest gas and electric utility, from the business side of things, and straddling the needs of customers with the demands of the regulatory environment and also the opportunities available to innovate around challenges. So it was an exciting journey. I'm now in Western New York, and I'm looking at building expertise around how the clean energy technologies and all of the funding that is pouring into the state, both from the federal government as well as resources through our state to impact low-income communities and customers generally with regard to the renewable technologies and all of the opportunities that would be available to them. So that's a really exciting time to be in this industry and in this little corner of New York State.
And that's cool. And it's so very important. We kind of talked about pre-show about how critical heat can become, especially for those those people that, like me, that live in the Midwest, or like you that live in the northern eastern portions of the county, where you're spending 6 months of the year needing heat, right? So when you talk about low income, right, or even middle income, sometimes struggling with being able to get the heat that they need.
Yeah, I guess people don't really think of nonprofit agencies from that standpoint, but and people think of Salvation Army as an entity with thrift stores. They don't think of it as a social service agency, but many of the first calls for help from the client base that we were able to serve were for heat and lights. And clearly, as you said, Bob, the heating services are not a luxury in many parts of this country. They're a necessity. And when households lose that, things can really spiral out of control. This is the sort of indicator, or the pre-indicator of poverty, and how do we keep families whole, and how do we keep them healthy and safe? Kids, that are cold coming home from school, how does that impact their ability to study and learn and grow and develop even physically? So it's certainly a sort of lesser attended niche of the energy industry, but it's really something that I've grown in passion for and expertise within, and just building networks across the country. I was very involved in a national organization for advocacy purposes, both in Washington and also in the state capital of Michigan in Lansing. And since my time here in New York State, I've been making inroads and talking to our leadership in Albany as well about how I can be a part of championing resources for this county and for this region of Western New York. Certainly there are a lot of disadvantaged communities and folks in need. Just in my backyard, just less than 10 minutes from Niagara Falls, a lot of challenges there. A lot of renters that just don't have the ability to insulate or make their homes more efficient because they don't have ownership of those places. And it's very easy for those folks to get behind on their utility bills and have debt to their utility provider that can carry with them for many years forward. So that sort of the bill assistance portion is one side. The efficiency portion is another. What does the shell look like, and how is it either holding heat or not holding heat? What are the behaviors in the household that are either protecting, that resource and keeping it available to them, or, potentially opening a window and, forgetting about it. And these types of things behaviorally can really impact the usage. And then lastly, as I said earlier, this sort of wave of new energy technologies that at this point in time have not been very easily accessible to disadvantaged communities, or even middle income people like myself. I don't understand this highly complex industry, how a solar panel, how a wind farm, how a battery storage could impact my cost. And that's something I think that has a lot of work to be done. State of New York is very interesting and very progressive, as many of you may already know, relative to the energy regulation and some of the advantages through legislation. And I was talking and shared with Bob a little bit earlier about the Community Leadership and Climate Protection Act. In 2019, a piece of legislation was enacted that mandates renewable resources of 70% to supply electricity to the state of New York by 2030. So that's a very steep climb for the industry. Yeah. And also, it will necessitate that customers understand and can adopt renewable resources for themselves and see those savings as an incentive to do so.
Yeah, that's amazing. You obviously have a passion for this, which is wonderful, and I think this industry as a whole, energy as a whole, and protecting consumers as a whole, needs passionate people like you involved in sort of being their champion. So that's excellent. So for your next step, who are you hoping, or who are you wanting to connect with?
Well, I'm looking to connect with existing investor-owned utilities. The big companies that service gas and electrics to this region. I'm also looking to connect with new companies that are investing in renewable resources, such as purchasing panels and installing and developing programs to bring customers aboard. I'm also looking at working within the nonprofit agency network, so connecting with trusted providers, trusted community-based organizations that are working with challenging communities and people that are having difficulties, so that the message can be packaged in such a way that people understand and really can feel like there are some rewards behind it, and there's a relationship that's trusted, that can support the next steps. I think there's a lot of discussion, whether it's in New York State or elsewhere, about programs, and there's like numbers and cents that define sort of the goals of these programs, but there's not enough talk about and promotion of partnership. And I think the very best programs happen when there's a bunch of people around the table that decide, we're going to do this. We may not be perfect the first time around, but we're going to learn, and we're going to learn together, and we're going to demonstrate how this can work. It's going to be tangible. And I really think that that's sort of the spirit and the thrust of what I want to do next. I'm a very big picture person. I love thinking and bringing ideas to a table and sitting around and helping to kind of braid ideas for the benefit of community, and then engaging community with outreach, with promotional marketing and networking that really supports the long-term impact. So that's where I'm hoping to land, and connecting with these champions throughout the region, whether it be the state of New York as well. Like I said earlier, I've been in touch with some folks in Albany and even locally here. There are some wonderful community leaders that are a part of the industry for the Buffalo region that I've been in discussions with, and really looking to advance myself as a subject matter expert.